Good?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say hello to Scotty and to say how proud Mei Ling and I are of him. How many people here, nobody can see the show of hands, how many people have ever chanted 25 hours in a week?
Oh, so many hours?
25 hours in a week.
Wow.
Okay?
I don't know.
Okay, so Scott, I'm the only one that raised my hand around the table. All right? Scotty decided enough is enough. I'm going to change my karma. So he's gone into a super Daimoku campaign. I'm very, very, very proud of him because the realizations that have come out of his mouth as he's spoken in the last 2-3 days as he's been chanting this series. It's like...
Yes, day and night.
Oh, it's beyond day and night. It's spooky Buddha dude. It's spooky Buddha dude. He's saying the right things. He's coming from the right place. I can see that the 10th world has actually been activated in his life. Yeah. Because you don't talk
he didn't
like
become smart.
You don't think that way.
Yeah.
Without the Gohonzon filling your life.
Yes.
And so we're going to discuss a little bit more of that. And it's just strange again that I'm watching this metamorphosis of my best friend after 40 years of encouraging him. 40 years of encouraging him. It just suddenly kicked in. And that moment, that single moment of life, I think, is basically actually, frankly, occurred for him. And, as always, it's as a result of Daimoku. It's not as a result of anything else. He couldn't sit here and give you a lecture. That's not what that moment of life is about. Okay, that moment of life is about realizing the truth of this philosophy that says what your true identity is, who your original teacher is, what your original state is. Okay? And so, we'll go forward. I say hi to James and Jean. I hope you guys are having a good time there on the island. And Steve, I hope everything's going well with your recovery.
Shufang.
Rather hear from you. And Shufang, how are you doing? I haven't heard from you for a while. Hope things are good in Europe. And here we go. Chapter 30, page 317. And by the way, everybody, do you understand that this book is really the retranslation of the 3 little gray books that were originally published back in the 90s? You remember the 3 little gray books that were the, lectures on the Lotus Sutra, or lectures on the expedient means and lifespan chapters?
We had to copy, right?
Yeah, so again, we talk about translations. Those translations came out in the mid-90s. This book was actually serialized in the West in the Living Buddhism magazine back in the mid-90s. Okay? I guarantee you what was serialized back in the mid-90s is not what we're reading right now. Okay? That's why, again, translation and an updating of conceptual language is important and necessary, and why Buddhism is a living thing that will always be changing, because the perception and capacity of the people will always be changing, and the teachers will always arise with the correct capacity to perceive that and convey it without there being anything lost, without there actually being anything changed. All right? So chapter 30, everybody with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. From the sutra. Ido shujo ko hoben gen nehan ni jitsu metsudo joju shi seppo ga joju oshi osho isho jinzu shiriki jinzu riki ro tendo shujo suiga ni fuken. In order to save living beings, as an expedient means, I appear to enter nirvana. But in truth, I do not pass into extinction. I am always here preaching the law. I am always here. But through my transcendental powers, I make it so that living beings in their befuddlement do not see me even when close by. Now, what was the main premise of last week? Does everybody understand what the main teaching or the main point of last week's discussion and reading was about? Anybody remember? Anybody remember? What preceded this point? What kind of thinking, what kind of point did President Ikeda so beautifully, clearly state in the last reading that we had just 1 week ago?
I just remember,
it was the sum up of
attain Buddha on our own.
That's exactly exactly the point. Yes, we attain Buddhahood on our own. That it's about self-attainment. That everybody attains Buddhahood on their own. That there's no outside influence that actually creates this. Yes. Go back, you circle this one and circle that one. Self-attainment. Okay? So it's very important that as we begin reading now, that you remember what point we're carrying on from. Okay? So the point that you are the Buddha, but you are the only one that can determine and perceive that truth. All right? Others can see you as the Buddha, but you're the only one that can see yourself as the Buddha and have it mean anything. All right? So, he's saying, Shakyamuni on page, as I said, 317 at the bottom. Shakyamuni, who attained Buddhahood in the remote past, numberless major world system dust particle kalpas ago, is the Buddha who eternally leads people to enlightenment throughout the past, present, and future. Why does a Buddha, whose life is eternal, pass into extinction? The answer is that he does so as an expedient means to save living beings. The Buddha enters nirvana. The Buddha enters nirvana, that is, passes into extinction or dies, as an expedient means to lead people to enlightenment. Nirvana indicates a state of tranquility achieved by overcoming earthly desires. The early Buddhist teachings, moreover, put forth the goal of complete nirvana, or nirvana of no remainder, attained by not only overcoming earthly desires of the mind, but by freeing oneself from the influence of the physical body through death. For this reason, the Buddha's death is referred to as entering nirvana, or blown out, right? To cease to exist. You no longer gather as a temporary gathering of the five components. There's no more transmigration. That was the goal, to achieve this as a state, but it would not be something you could achieve in a single lifetime. It's something you'd have to aspire to that would be accomplished over many, many kalpas, many, many existences. But the lifespan chapter indicates that the Buddha only appears to pass into extinction or enter nirvana as an expedient means. The lifespan chapter does what? It qualifies that there actually is no nirvana of no remainder. Okay? That nirvana of no remainder that's been referred to, that extinction, that blown out nirvana, is an expedient means. It's not the truth. Okay? Because the lifespan is revealing that the life of the Buddha is eternal. It never gets extinguished. Therefore, this entire premise of that being a goal that can be achieved is wiped out. Do you understand? So the basic underlying teaching of the Buddhism of the harvest up until this point is wiped out. Okay? The provisional teachings. But the lifespan chapter indicates that the Buddha only appears to pass into extinction or enter nirvana as an expedient means. The truth is that out of his compassion and wisdom, he eternally continues working to lead all people to happiness. The profound stability of the Buddha's life derives from his ceaseless activity to save people, just as the stability of a top derives from the rapidity of its spin. Everybody understands that? Maybe I screwed it up too much. I'll reread it. The profound stability of the Buddha's life derives from his ceaseless activity to save people, just as the stability of a top derives from the rapidity of its spin. The Buddha's state of life, pervaded with compassion and wisdom, is one of absolute serenity and tranquility. But at the same time, it's also one of what? Just said it. Ceaseless action for the sake of others. Deriving great benefit for the self, but with the focus being for the sake of others. All right? We've already attained Buddhahood when we come back into the Sahe world to save people. All right? We're bodhisattvas of the earth. That's our original state, isn't it? We take the poison we take the medicine without any hesitation. That's the second week I did that. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's saying the true nirvana lies not in physical and spiritual extinction, but in the perfection of wisdom. So what's he saying there? What's that? Another way, a more clear way to actually state that what the substance of that sentence. True nirvana. What's true nirvana? Buddhahood.
Yeah.
Okay, right? That's what true Buddha. That's what Buddhahood is really. Is true nirvana. Okay, the real deal lies not in physical and spiritual extinction, not in the manner that it was perceived from the Buddhism of the harvest prior to the perfect teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Okay, it comes from the perfection of wisdom. What is the perfection of wisdom? Yeah, but what is the point of what is that perfection of wisdom that equates to the attainment of Buddhahood in your present form?
To realize that
Exactly, that you are the Buddha. That's the perfection of wisdom. The perfection of wisdom is to have overcome the influence of the devil of the sixth heaven. Okay? When you have overcome the influence of the devil of the sixth heaven, you have perceived the true nature of your life. When you have perceived the true nature of your life, you have achieved perfection of wisdom. Do you understand? All right, so perfect wisdom is limitless and works in conjunction with compassion, the Buddha life condition of the 10th world that exists in the 9. That's why they throw in that compassion of the Bodhisattva, the 9th world, right? And manifests as the Buddha. It manifests as the Buddha's eternal activity to lead people to happiness. Eternal activity. What does that mean? He's just described it a few sentences earlier. The rapidity of the top. It's ceaseless. It's ceaseless for all time. It has beginningless activity. There's no beginning, there's no end to that activity. That's the life of Buddha. That's the Buddha life condition, right? So, all Buddhas, when they achieve birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood, enter a state in which they are perpetually engaged in saving other people, even though they live in the 9 worlds. Do you understand? All right. So, and then thereby leading them to happiness, right? That's what that end paragraph says, okay? The sutra passage mentions the Buddha's transcendental powers. Basically, these are a function of the compassion at one with the wisdom with which the Buddha's eternal life is endowed. Do you understand what he's saying there? What are your transcendental powers? They are a function of the compassion at one with the wisdom. What's your compassion at one with the wisdom?
Buddhahood.
Bodhisattva, living in the 9 worlds, 10th world manifested in that. Okay, do you understand? That's where you're taking the boundless wisdom of Buddhahood with the compassion and the endless action of having being in a manifest form, right? Got it? All right, so from the standpoint of Nichiren Buddhism, this perfect wisdom is an original attribute of our lives, right? It's Buddhahood. It's the original state. Do you understand? We are eternally endowed with the Buddha's 3 bodies. Means that they've always been there. We uncover them. Those who have forgotten this original self are, as the passage says, befuddled. They are filled with delusion. Right?
Yes.
Top of page 319. Like a concerned parent watching over his children. To the Buddha, living beings in their befuddlement. Now what's that referring to? Living beings who have lost their minds, living beings who have become obscured to their original state, their original life, their original identity, their true identity, okay, are like children who have not yet reached the age of discernment. They're not yet adults. They're still adolescents. They're children, okay? Mischievous children may resent and feel constrained by a parent who constantly watches over them. But if the parent momentarily disappears from the child's sight, the child cries out for and tries to find the parent. Everybody's seen examples of that, right? The biggest brat in the world becomes a scared little kid if mommy isn't right there. All right? Similarly, only when the Buddha passes into extinction can befuddled people truly appreciate their fortune in having encountered the Buddha. He regards all people as his own children, Like a parent, the Buddha understands the people well and exerts himself in various ways on their behalf, employing all manner of expedient means. Passing into extinction is the ultimate expedient means at the Buddha's disposal. So what is he also qualified here, though? He says, similarly, only when the Buddha passes into extinction can befuddled people truly appreciate their fortune in having encountered the Buddha. Only then can they manifest the fortune necessary to meet the Buddha, because that comes from appreciation. That comes from gratitude.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
That comes from recognizing the truth. That isn't given to them by somebody else. Only they can come up with that perspective. It's only that yearning that can draw it out of the depths of their lives. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's very clear, right? Makes sense too, right?
Yes. Makes sense.
All right. The Buddha, in fact, constantly watches over the people close by their side. He is always here preaching the law, but purposely does not allow himself to be seen. Thus Shakyamuni says he must make it so that people do not see me even when close by. Now, are we talking about some spooky Buddha spook ghost that's like, always next to us, but we can't see him, and, there's another worldly Buddha No. You can understand that that's the surface level of the lifespan chapter being touched on by President Ikeda here, right? You can discern and see that, right? Okay, because he's going to go into the implicit meaning in a minute, and it'll be very clear and very understandable, and it's not about ghosts and spooky things. There's no Shakyamuni standing next to you that you can't see. All right? The Shakyamuni that's standing next to you is the one that you can see. All right? So the Buddha, in fact, constantly watches over the people close by their side. He is always here preaching the law, but purposely does not allow himself to be seen. Thus Shakyamuni says, he makes it so that people do not see me even when close by. Why does the Buddha go to such lengths? It is necessary in order to awaken people to their true selves and enable them to become self-reliant. What's that self-reliance and become their true selves involved? Their actions. Okay, so he has to induce, he has to use expedient means so that they draw forth the correct understanding and make the correct cause of appreciation. Do you understand?
Yes.
It can't be just given to them. It has to be inspired. They have to find it in the depths of their lives. And how do they do that? By having faith in the teachings that guide them, that that's the actual truth for them to uncover on their own and self-attain through the development of that self and vertical awareness. Yes. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. So, why does the Buddha go to such lengths? It is necessary in order to awaken people to their true selves and enable them to become self-reliant. Continuing this parent-child analogy, it is as though the Buddha is engaging us by playing a game of peekaboo or hide-and-seek. Such games are thought to be very important for the psychological development of children. They cultivate a sense of assurance and trust that even though someone is not immediately visible, they are still somewhere close and will definitely reappear. The development of such awareness gives rise to the power of self-reliance. In a sense, the parent dwells within the child's heart. In the child's heart, there is someone in whom the child can firmly believe, even though that person may not currently be there. As a result, the child learns to take action with a sense of freedom and self-assurance. And those of us that have had a parent go on know what this transitional feeling is. You go from that reassured sense that I can always call mom, I can always call dad. They're not there anymore. Over a period of time, we realize that life goes on, and we gather the strength that we didn't think we could manifest at the point in time that they leave. The one that allows us to continue on as a parent ourselves. We are no longer the children with a parent. We are the parent now. Do you understand? That only occurs because our parents have actually vacated that space for us to now grow into.
Yeah.
We no longer can look to mom and dad, save my ass, loan me some money, whatever it might be. Do you understand?
Yes.
We have to stand on our own. That's called self-reliance. That's what President Ikeda is referring to. All right. Freely, I'm going to reread this. This principle remains operative even after we become adults, whether anyone else is aware of what we are doing. If there is but one person who truly trusts and understands us, we will have confidence and absolute peace of mind. This becomes a great source of encouragement and above all strength. Because of this, we can take action freely and to our heart's content, because our parents never really leave our realm of life. Do you understand that? The only time they do is if we forget about them. If we're filial, we're never supposed to forget about them. They should be in our daily daimoku, right? We should be thinking about our parents every single day if we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yes.
It's actually a part of Gongyo,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So why is it a part of Gongyo? So we can't forget to do it. It's the same reason. Why does it mention the appreciation for the first 3 presidents? So we don't screw up and not have that appreciation, which is the first of the slanders. Okay, the first 14 slanders is arrogance. That's the lack of perception of the truth. Our relationship with the Buddha is not limited to this lifetime alone, right? The parent who constantly watches over the people is the eternal Buddha revealed in the lifespan chapter, okay, of which all human beings, all entities are a reflection of, are manifestations of. There's no separation between that Buddha and all living beings, is there? Okay, so no matter who your parent was, they contained that entity. They were entities of the mystic law as well. Do you understand? Regardless of whether they chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, right? And they attained Buddhahood if you do, right?
Yes.
So they quite simply are Buddhas. You're Bodhisattvas of the earth. You've already qualified that you're Buddhas. Therefore, they automatically must be Buddhas, regardless of what they did in this lifetime. Because of the great merit of your life, they are assured of that state. Do you understand? All right. So, yet befuddled people cannot even see the Buddha existing in their own hearts. For this reason, Nichiren Daishonin inscribed the life of this Buddha, the Buddha, his own identity, in the form of the Gohonzon, and this Gohonzon serves as a mirror for us to see the Gohonzon existing within ourselves. Do you all understand what he's saying there again? There's no separation between your life and Nichiren's life. Why? Because there's no separation between the Buddha nature that exists in your life and the Buddha nature that existed in his life. And what did he manifest the Buddha nature in his life as for the sake of helping us find the Buddha nature in ours? What? The Gohonzon. That's what he manifested. Do you understand? From the Gohonzon comes the 3 great secret laws. Comes Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Comes the manifestation of the reward body. All right? And the manifestation of the manifest body. In his letter on the treasure tower, Nichiren writes, a Butsubo is therefore the treasure tower itself, and the treasure tower is a Butsubo himself.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
That's the same thing as saying the Gohonzon is you. Right?
Right.
All right. You yourself are thus come one who is originally enlightened and endowed with the 3 bodies. You should chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with this conviction. Does that admonition to a Butsubo, is that any different than the one that's actually conveyed to us through his teaching on the Buddhism of the sowing? No. All of us should be chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with the conviction that we ourselves are entities of the mystic law exactly as we are. Right?
Right.
Without a process of perfection. We have already attained Buddhahood by virtue of embracing the Gohonzon. By virtue of embracing the life of the original teacher. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Because that's really what it is. It's not knowing all the stuff that we're talking about now. It's a life condition. It's connection to the original teacher. It's a desire to do the right thing to the best of your ability. It's not about having mastered all this stuff. That isn't where you master it and then begin. No. The mastery occurs over the whole entire course of your life. Because it wasn't a process of mastery if it stops before then. Right? You with me?
Yes.
All right. So, then the place where, okay,
Yes.
Abutsubo is therefore the treasure tower itself, and the treasure tower is Abutsubo himself. You yourself are a thus come one who is originally enlightened and endowed with the three bodies. You should chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with this conviction. I do. Then the place where you chant Daimoku will become the dwelling place of the treasure tower. Get it? All right. The dwelling place of the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo thus come one. Your life becomes the dwelling place of the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo thus come one. There becomes no separation between your life and the life of the original teacher, the original Buddha. We can say Nichiren. Nichiren's an expedient for the true identity of that. Do you understand? Right? Okay. When we reverently pray to the Gohonzon, we manifest the life of the Gohonzon in ourselves, the original state, from the original teacher, the original Buddha. Illuminated by the bright mirror of the Gohonzon, the world of Buddhahood within spontaneously rises to the surface. Spontaneously. Okay, so it's not contrived. It's spontaneous. And what's the thing that pops that cork? Doubt-free faith. Do you understand? Doubt-free faith. The faith that Buddhahood manifests around. The Gohonzon embodying Nichiren's very soul is the essence of the Buddha's life. The very essence of the Buddha's life. Even though the Buddha is always here in the world in the form of the Gohonzon, unless people have faith, the Gohonzon will appear to them only as paper or wood. Do you understand why I said faith a minute ago? Because that's the only way you perceive it as it actually is. Otherwise, delusion and the devil of the sixth heaven still is in charge, saying that's something outside of you. That's something that you'll get to. That's something that not everybody is. Okay? But it is in fact the embodiment of the noble life of the Buddha. That's the fact. The only thing that keeps you from perceiving that is a lack of correct faith. Okay? Doubt-free faith is correct faith. That's why I said Mugi Washin rather than just faith. Do you understand? All right. On the top of page 321. Regarding always here in the passage, I am always here preaching the law. Nichiren says, always here refers to the place where the votaries of the Lotus Sutra abide. Here is the Sahe world. The Buddha is present wherever a person of action overcomes difficulties based on faith and correctly advances in life. Now, what did he just say there? Yeah, action, but what did he describe there? This is what he's saying. Again, Nichiren says, always here refers to the place where the votaries of the Lotus Sutra abide. Here is the Sahe world. The Buddha is present wherever a person of action overcomes difficulties based on faith and correctly advances in life. What is somebody like that? They're a votary of the Lotus Sutra, are they not? Okay, that is synonymous with being the Buddha then. That's what he just qualified in the next sentence, correct? It's very clear and understandable, right? So he's saying, you're the Buddha, 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 you're the Buddha. All right? He continues, preaching the law is the sound of the words of all living beings. That is the sound of preaching the law through the wisdom that is freely received and used, a part of their original makeup. Does everybody understand that? It's talking about the Buddhism of the sowing. Let me read it again. He continues, preaching the law is the sound of the words of us people, of us living beings doing shakabuku, that is the sound of preaching the law through the wisdom that is freely received and used. What's the wisdom that is freely received and used? Specifically, the Buddhism of the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come one, of which the bodhisattvas of the earth are originally endowed. Do you understand? The Buddhism of the sowing is what that is. That's not the Buddhism of the harvest. That's the Buddhism of you're a Buddha just like you are, exactly as you are, without changing anything. All right? The sound of the preaching of the law through the wisdom, the Buddhism of the sowing that is freely received and used. That's what the Buddhism of the sowing is, a part of their original makeup. Bodhisattvas of the earth, their original state, derived from their original teacher. Do you understand? Now that we have entered the latter day of the law, preaching the law means Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what all that was. Do you understand? Okay, why does he have to make it so complicated? Because that way it says the truth, and at the same time it says it in a way that those that can't understand it can still get something from it. Do you understand what I just said? It's not. That's why it's not so overt as I'm qualifying it, because you'd have to have somebody that could back this up before you could actually start saying it that way without creating a lot of misunderstanding. The Buddha of limitless joy, the Buddha of compassion at one with wisdom that we were just referring to here, who freely receives and uses the benefit of the mystic law, okay, manifests in the lives who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon. So the life of the original Buddha manifests in the lives of those who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon. Do you understand? That's what he just said.
Yes.
That's why you can do all this wild shit. Because of your relationship to the original Buddha. That's what allows you to actually have the power to conform the environment to your will. All the merits of all the Buddhas that have ever been taught since that original Buddha are contained in each life moment of your life. Okay? When you call forth that power, it manifests in the answer of your prayer. All right? Nichiren says that by basing ourselves on faith, he prefaces this is the only way to get to that. We can tap the Buddha's wisdom and manifest the Buddha's benefit in our lives. The Buddha's benefit. All right? Do you understand? The benefit that's inherent within our life, but only accessible by the common thread of Buddhahood, which exists in all things. Do you understand? All right, so everybody's with me, right?
Yes.
Yes? Yes. Okay. When we have absolute confidence that we can overcome any and all sufferings through faith in the Gohonzon, what's that saying?
Go sit down and chant.
No, yeah, but with what? But what kind of faith?
All confident.
Mugiwashin, again.
Doubt-free.
Mugiwashin, when we
Doubt-free
have
faith.
absolute confidence, that's doubt-free faith.
Yes.
That's how we unlock the real power of the Gohonzon. That's why people can chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and say, I chanted and nothing happened. Okay? Because they were not approaching it with the correct key. They're trying to stick a key that looks like a lot like the key. But the key that really unlocks the door is doubt-free faith. Do you understand? You can get there by just sitting and developing that. That's what the course of your practice is about. That's why this doesn't just manifest mystically in a moment in the first 3 weeks of your practice. Okay? You need the earthly desires, the firewood of the earthly desires to burn into the, something of earthly Buddhahood. Right. When we have absolute confidence that we can overcome any and all sufferings through faith in the Gohonzon, that's how a Buddha would think, right?
Yes.
Our lives are bathed in the light of boundless joy and limitless strength wells forth, so we never give up. Yes. This is the strongest and most secure way of life, because it's the way of life to always achieve victory, 100% of the time. It's the life of the Buddha, living as the Buddha, as a living Buddha. It's actual Ichinen Sanzen.
Yeah.
The passage, as an expedient means I appear to enter nirvana, according to President Toda, sheds light on the question of why we die even though life is eternal. He taught that, viewed from the eternal state of one who perceives the oneness of birth and death, death is an expedient means. We all know that, I would think, at this table by now, right?
Yes.
There is no ebb or flow, yada, 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 from the OTT, right? President Toda often compared death to sleep.
Yes.
When we have been awake for a long time, we tire and go to sleep. And when we wake up after a sound sleep, our vitality is restored. After we have been alive for a long time, we grow weary and die. And then we set out on a new life with a fresh spirit. And for those of us that, again, have lost someone dear to us that chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo or was a parent, that has died, President Ikeda is saying, hey, the amount of time that they are in Ku is completely up to them. My sense is that they're already out again. They're already doing this magnificent mission again. So don't think that, you die and it's a really long time again before you get to be born again. That is not the teaching of the sowing. That is not the teaching of the Soka philosophy. Mm-hmm. According to that philosophy, it's up to you when you go to Ku. That rhymes, doesn't it? It's up to you when you go to Ku how long you'll hang out. President Toda often compared death to sleep, and sorry. And when we have been alive for a very long time, we grow weary and die, and then we all set out on new life with a fresh spirit. Death is a period of recharging for our next existence. Those who dedicate themselves to the mystic law are immediately reborn. Well, he goes a step further for me. It's not up to you. You're going to be immediately reborn. Death is a period of recharging for our next existence. Those who dedicate themselves to the mystic law. Now, what's that mean? That means, again, they've attained Buddhahood in their present form. That means even if they were of an inferior capacity in this lifetime, they achieved Buddhahood. Right? If you maintain faith to the last moment of your life, it's impossible for you not to attain Buddhahood in your present form. Yes. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right? So that's what he's talking about. Those who dedicate themselves to the mystic law are immediately reborn, and in their new existences, they rejoin their comrades, because based on dependent origination, you're not going to just go off in a different direction. So you get to be with those loved ones that you think have departed, that you'll never see again. And you get to see them again. You get to hang with them again. You just don't have the same recollection from the past, but you have the same experience in life. You have the same connection. They rejoin their comrades struggling for Kosen Rufu, to live the life of the Buddha. That's what they've got to do in each existence. Do you understand? They're not born in their next existence as Buddhas to kick. That's that ceaseless activity. Did he, right? He talked about it over here. It's ceaseless activity, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. They can lead fulfilling lives of mission according to their desires. And that's the cool part. There's no book on what you got to be like when you come back to do this. Based on your desires. Yes. I like that. Desires. I'm not locked into being vanilla. I don't have to be vanilla to do this. Vanilla has nothing to do with this. Okay? It's what you want to achieve. It's what you perceive. It's your wisdom and understanding who you must reach in your next life. And being devoted to being there with them. Okay? In Buddhism, therefore, there is neither fear of death nor a defiant attitude toward death accompanied by a sense of resignation. Firmly fixing our eyes on the truth that death is an expedient means, we can live through everything with dignity and composure, even terminal illnesses. This is the way of life of a Buddhist. We can live with unremitting spirit and vigor in this lifetime and in every lifetime, because we enter the realm of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. As President Toda emphasized, however, even though life is eternal, our rebirth does not entail any discontinuity from one existence to the next. Do you understand? No discontinuity. Well, so what's that saying? You'll essentially pick up right where you left off. Do you understand? I'll read it again. As President Toda emphasized, now again, this is the Soka philosophy. This is President Toda's perception as a Buddha. President Toda emphasized, however, even though life is eternal, our rebirth does not entail any discontinuity from one existence to the next. From past existences to the present, and from the present to the future, our lives are continuous. All right? The law of cause and effect operates eternally over past, present, and future. The good and evil causes engraved in our lives do not simply disappear. All right? Don't need to. Buddhahood trumps all that. Buddhahood turns those things from effects. What's that look on your face for?
I'll tell you later.
Why?
And I'm looking at the Chinese version. And I was like,
It's different.
not good at all.
Okay, I can't speak to that. Again, you know, that's why it was translated by...
Yeah, this is a 2007 year version.
Okay.
And no one is redoing the translation. So
Okay. President Toda taught that after we die, our lives merge with and melt into the universe. President Toda, he doesn't say the high priest of Nichiren Shoshu taught. He doesn't say Nichikan says. He says President Toda taught. While our lives melt into the universe, they do not blend in with the lives of others. Each life retains its integrity and experiences joy or sadness depending on the person's actions while alive, as though crying or laughing in a dream. And then, like someone waking up from a dream on account of some disturbance, a person is born once again in accordance with the proper external causes. Therefore, we must not give up in this life using the rationale that there's always my next lifetime. Nor can irresponsible or erratic behavior be justified on the grounds that you only live once. One's actions in previous existences are all engraved and contained in this lifetime. The causes for our past sufferings or joy, happiness or mercy, all lie in our own past actions. But Nichiren Buddhism enables us to fundamentally reform our destiny. When we truly base ourselves on Buddhism's view of life's eternity, we realize the first thing to change is how we live in the present. We do human revolution. Human revolution is completely self-attained. All right? There's no book or recipe book. All right? There's a lot of things qualifying what is human revolution. Oh, you've really done human revolution. No one's really qualified to make those statements. You're the only one that knows.
Yes.
What human revolution is. Anybody that says, oh, I see you've done human revolution, that's animality. They're patting themselves on the back to say, aren't I so goddamn smart? They're not. They don't have, if they were that smart, they wouldn't say something like that.
Yeah.
Okay? True. True. President Ikeda just qualified it here. All right? I'm not making this up. This isn't my perception. It just happens to coincide with my perception, but I'm not the one I didn't write this book. When we pray to the Gohonzon, change arises from the depths of our being. Strong, pure vitality wells forth in abundance. The iron chains of destiny are cut, and our original identity, the fresh and robust world of Buddhahood, appears. Carrying out our human revolution means always living with exactly such new vitality. Okay? I'm sorry you're suffering through that. The look on your face is not one that's pleasant. It's like, holy shit, what's going on over there, George? Do you share a copy? No, again, if it's going to convolute everybody, don't even pick it up at this point in time. All right, chapter 31 on page 325. You ready?
Yes.
Isn't that food good? The soup is awesome, isn't it? You guys deserve even better. Someday we will. We will have rack of lamb and everything else. Someday, you watch.
No.
We may have to feed many more people, so the portion may be very small. Who knows? Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Ken pardon me, Shukin ga metsu ko kuyo shaori genkai e rinbo nisho katsu go shin shujo kishin buku shikijiki ni inunan ishin yoken butsufuji shakushimyo jiga gyushu so kushutsu ryoju sen. Continuing with the translation of the Romaji. When the multitude sees that I have passed into extinction far and wide, they offer alms to my relics. All harbor thoughts of yearning, and in their minds thirst to gaze at me. When living beings have become truly faithful, honest and upright, gentle in intent, single-mindedly desiring to see the Buddha, not hesitating even if it costs them their lives, then I and the assembly of monks appear together on Holy Eagle Peak. Now, does anybody recognize a significant phrase or sentence in that passage from things we've already studied? And I'm really glad he's going to go ahead and discuss it on his own. So because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get out the metadex and look up what Gosho it comes from. But actually, this single-minded desiring to see the Buddha, not hesitating even if it cost them their lives, the Daishonin says it's from that part of the verse section of the lifespan chapter that he was able to perceive the inherent nature of his life and to reveal the Buddhism of the three great secret laws. Okay? So as his disciples, this has tremendous significance to us as well, because if this is how he opened up the three bodies in his life of the 9 worlds, this is how the same conviction. This is mugiwashi. This is mugiwashi. This is correct faith. All right. So going into the top of page 326. In working on this lecture, I composed this poem. Each morning and evening, reciting the expedient means and lifespan chapters, we luxuriate in the song of the universe. In our morning and evening practice of Gongyo and chanting Daimoku, the microcosm of our lives joins with the macrocosm of the universe in a melodious chorus. Now, what does that mean? We put into rhythm our life with the entire living life of the rest of the universe.
Okay.
Do you understand? Okay, that's why we can do all this spooky, weird shit. That's what gives us our Buddha power. That's plugging in. Do you understand? In the morning and evening practice of Gongyo and chanting Daimoku, the microcosm of our lives joins with the macrocosm of the universe in a melodious chorus. It's the fusion with the Gohonzon, your Buddha nature and the Buddha nature that exists in all things. Do you understand? All right. The sound of the mystic law, the sound of voices chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, is the symphony of the universe. That's the unheard truth of the song of the universe. The whole universe is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right?
Right.
The 9th consciousness. Okay? The source of everything. The point that everything is exactly the same. There is no separation between anything in the 9th consciousness, the state of non-substantiality. You understand? Each morning and evening, we immerse ourselves in the symphony of the mystic law, resounding throughout the universe. The Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhist deities throughout eternity shower us with praise and protection. That's what the Gohonzon is saying in the characters that are on it. Yeah. That's what the Gohonzon's promise is in the characters that are on it. I hope each of you will have great conviction in this. What does that mean? I hope each of you will have doubt-free faith about this fact and lead a thoroughly joyous and cheerful existence, worrying about nothing, residing in the wonderful sense of fulfillment and fearlessness of being the Buddha exactly as you are. Actual Ichinen Sanzen. Do you understand? That's what he's saying. This is my ardent wish. He's saying, basically, I hope for you all to live your lives in the state of Buddhahood. Understanding what I understand. As your mentor, that's what I'm trying to teach you. This is my prayer for you. This is why I'm taking this active effort to try and help you wrap your head around it. I'm trying to take what I've been taught by my mentor and pass it on to future generations so that you can all become mentors in the same vein that I have been able to. All right? As I have mentioned, we who dedicate ourselves to Kosen Rufu are always together with the Buddha. In an age that for many could be called a lonely hell, we are following an unparalleled path of peace, tranquility, and eternal life. We are living in the realm of Buddhahood even though we live in the 9 worlds. Moreover, there are now friends, bodhisattvas of the earth, in every part of the world. Comrades everywhere share our heartfelt aspirations. Truly, we lead the noblest and most wonderful lives. We who dedicate ourselves to this unsurpassed path, dedicate ourselves, not come to some meetings and do gongyo every once in a while. We who dedicate ourselves to this unsurpassed path can enter the noble, can encounter the noble Buddha at any time and in any place, because that noble Buddha is all things.
Yeah.
Okay, both both the person living in the environment and the environment itself. From the sutra passage above, we gain a still deeper understanding of this point. From the sutra passage above, we gain a still deeper understanding of this point. Yearning for the Buddha at the top of 327. From the Buddha's perspective, nirvana is an expedient means. In truth, the Buddha is always at our sides. People have a hard time grasping this truth. But when the Buddha dies, they develop a seeking spirit for, they yearn for and thirst to gaze upon the Buddha. Having sought to quell people's worries by saying, as an expedient means, I appear to enter nirvana, and thus revealing the meaning of his death, the Buddha now offers profoundly merciful words. He says, in effect, after I die, people will make offerings to my relics and thirst to see me. Someone who arouses an earnest seeking mind for the Buddha can meet me without fail. I will appear here on Eagle Peak with many disciples. These words abundantly convey the Buddha's spirit of concern for all those in the world after his passing. What's he also saying in that paragraph? You, the bodhisattva of the earth, will never fail to encounter the Buddha, because you always enter each life yearning and seeking to reveal that 10th world again from your life itself. That's why you've made your advent. You will never ever make your advent where you will not find the Buddha. You will never ever make your advent where you will not find the correct teaching. You will never ever make your advent where you do not find the correct teacher and the correct object of devotion. All right? Because that's where you start to go to work. That's what you do. Someone who arouses an earnest seeking mind for the Buddha can meet me without fail. I will appear here on Eagle Peak with many disciples. These words abundantly convey the Buddha's spirit of concern for all those in the world after his passing. The relationship between the Buddha and his disciples is not limited to a single lifetime. I think we all know that, right? Okay. The mentor-disciple relationship is maintained eternally throughout the past, present, and future. I am always together with President Toda. This I understand from struggling as I have. This goes back to what I was just talking about. Do you understand? All right. Again, where were we taught what we know? That is our original state. From the original teacher. Do you understand? There is no separation between that mentor-disciple relationship. That's the mentor-disciple relationship he's really talking about. All right? Because of that mentor-disciple relationship, we find other mentors that are in the 9 worlds, that have achieved the 10th world, that show us the way to bring out the 10th in our own life, based on the teachings of the original teacher. Do you understand? All right, and the correct practice and the correct object of devotion. Although the Buddha is close at hand, we cannot sense the connection if we just sit around idly. This passage concretely elucidates the attitude we need to have toward the Buddha. Do you understand? Concretely elucidates the attitude we need to have toward the Buddha. In the first place, it says, far and wide they offer alms to my relics. This should not be taken as encouragement to make offerings to relics in a literal sense. Rather, it teaches the importance of having a direct connection in faith with the Buddha. What's that really saying? Rather, it teaches the importance of having a direct connection in faith with the Gohonzon. Do you understand?
Yeah. Going
All right.
from the box.
The highest offering to the Buddha is not to worship something reminiscent of the Buddha. Rather, it is to inherit the Buddha's spirit, to be a bodhisattva of the earth, to be of the same mind as Nietzsche, the original teacher. All right? In other words, the highest offering lies in struggling, because it's hard as shit, all right, to manifest as one's own way of life, even a part of the spirit of the Buddha, who upheld the philosophy that everyone is a Buddha and tirelessly strove to save all from suffering. You with me?
Yes.
All right, so Shakyamuni's spirit is embodied in the Lotus Sutra. Nichiren Daishonin's spirit is embodied in the 3 great secret laws and the great undertaking of Kosen Rufu to lead all people to happiness, to make all people Buddhas exactly as they are.
Yeah.
For us today, far and wide, they offer alms to my relics, means chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon and participating in activities for Kosen Rufu for the sake of widespread propagation. Okay? When we say activities for Kosen Rufu, we're talking about everything that brings others closer to the truth. Yeah. We're not just talking about SGI collective things at a kaikon somewhere. Right. You understand?
Yes.
Those are activities, and those are activities for Kosen Rufu. But what he's talking about is a heartfelt sense of mission that supersedes any of that.
Yeah.
That looks very superficial in light of what he's talking about here. All right? Faith ultimately means wholeheartedly devoting oneself to the Gohonzon and arousing a spirit of yearning for and thirsting to gaze upon the Gohonzon. In a letter to the lay nun Myoichi, Nichiren Daishonin writes, "What is called faith is nothing unusual. Faith means putting one's trust in the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni, many treasures, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and the heavenly gods and benevolent deities, and chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as a woman cherishes her husband, as a man lays down his life for his wife, as parents refuse to abandon their children, or as a child refused to leave its mother." How cool is that, really? Okay, let's go back over that. What is called faith is nothing unusual. This kind of strong attachment to the desire for exists in other parts of your life. There are already perfect examples. But if you can take those senses and create that sense toward the Gohonzon, then you've achieved what he's talking about. All right? So he says faith is nothing unusual. There are examples of this magnetism towards something that already exists in common everyday life, right? Faith means putting one's trust in the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni, many treasures, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and the heavenly gods and benevolent deities. What's that really? Faith means putting trust in the Gohonzon.
Right.
Because actually, what I just described there, Shakyamuni, many treasures, Buddha, but that's a description of the Gohonzon, isn't it?
Right.
All right?
Great. Yeah.
And chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with that same, to get, water from parched ground or fire from damp wood. Is another time he uses the same similar analogy, right? And who knows who Myoichi was? Who knows who Myoichi was?
She was a nun.
Oh yeah. Well, she was a lay nun. Actually, he said she was the unsurpassed sage, female sage of the Lotus. It's Nichimyo. She actually is the lady that visited him on Sado Island with her infant child, who went to Minobu with her little girl. Never, ever, ever sacrificed, never, ever hesitated to sacrifice again. never hesitating even if at the cost of their own lives. Okay, she is the living example of the Daishonin spirit.
Okay.
All right? The love between husband and wife or parent and child is an expression of adorned humanity, of the pure human heart. It may be that in the present age, even such love has become weak and diluted. No matter how much honor or wealth someone may have, to lose touch with human affection is to become miserable. There is no greater anguish. And I think we all know examples of people that suffer from that anguish. The lay nun Myoichi, the recipient of this letter, was a woman who treasured most highly this spirit Nichiren is talking about. While the circumstances she faced were severe, she possessed immense inner wealth. Moreover, for the lay nun Myoichi, these words from the Daishonin were more than a simple metaphor. Amid the whirlwind of attacks against Nichiren's followers that accompanied the Tatsunokuchi persecution and the Sato exile, the lay nun Myoichi and her husband steadfastly maintained their faith. They suffered various hardships due to their faith in the Lotus Sutra, including having their fief confiscated. So they lost all their stuff, okay, because they wouldn't renounce their faith in the Daishonin's teachings. Moreover, the lay nun Myoichi's husband died before word could reach him that Nichiren had been pardoned from exile. She and her child were also in poor health. Still, she fought heroically, keeping alive the flame of faith and practicing for both herself and her late husband. While her life was difficult, she sent her own laborers to work for Nichiren at Sato and at Minobu. She fought hard with the message of hope she received from Nichiren sustaining her spirits. Those who believe in the Lotus Sutra are as if in winter, but winter always turns to spring. Okay, winter always turns to spring was to her as well. Your husband gave his life for the Lotus Sutra, therefore he must certainly have received blessings as great as theirs, the boy Snow Mountains and Bodhisattva Medicine King. He is probably watching his wife and children in the heavenly mirrors of the sun and moon every moment of the day and night. Since you and your children are ordinary persons, you cannot see or hear him, but never doubt that he is protecting you. Moreover, he may be close at hand. In other words, he's, again, encouraging her. Don't be afraid. Don't be defeated. Faith, victory of gold. Trust that everything I'm telling you is true. Your actions show me that you do, in fact, trust everything and this level of faith. That's why he renames her later from Myoichi to Nichimyo. Okay, the great sage, the sage Myoichi Nyo, or I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll look it up in a minute. What courage and strength these words has given to the lay nun Myoichi. The most miserable person deserves to become the happiest. This is Buddhism. This is the Daishonin spirit. Nichiren's writings that I quoted earlier, which begins with, "What is called faith is nothing unusual," was sent to the lay nun Myoichi after she had continued her difficult struggle for as long as 7 years without retreating a step. She struggled hard for both herself and her late husband, and she succeeded splendidly in raising her children. The Daishonin encouraged her to pray to the Gohonzon and chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with the same love and affection she felt toward her deceased husband and her children. This, he told her, is faith. The ultimate meaning of faith is difficult to understand, and yet at the same time, quite simple. Essentially, it is to maintain a seeking mind toward and not to forget the Gohonzon, no matter what our circumstances, to the last moment of our lives. Okay, I'll finish that for him a little more, but completely. To the last moment of our lives. When we seek the Buddha with an honest and pure spirit, like that of a child in search of her mother or father, her mother, or a mother embracing her child, a palace of indestructible happiness arises in our hearts. By contrast, someone whose inner life is shrouded in the thick smoke screen of doubt will be utterly incapable of connecting in faith with the great life of the Buddha. It's up to them. You can't give that to them. They have to be able to make that breakthrough. They have to be able to make that discernment. They have to manifest that wisdom. This is what the verse section of the Lifespan chapter teaches. Faith means yearning for and thirsting to see the Buddha. That's what led Nichiren. It is to be honest and upright, gentle in intent, to be thoroughly honest and gentle in one's spirit toward the Buddha, toward the Gohonzon. We must not have the rigid attitude of those whose hearts are callous and closed. We cannot give in to dogma or into delusion or into distortions of the true teaching. We must fight them whenever we see them. The object of devotion is faith. I'll stop there. It's 9:10?
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop there. All right, we'll stop on 3:30 and keep going. It only gets better. Like I said, it only gets better. I can't wait until next week. Thank you.
Thank you.